Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're joined here by Dynamo 2 head coach Kenny Bundy. I'll go ahead and kick things off, and then we'll go right into questions. Kenny, back at home this time against Austin FC 2. How's the team navigating preparations for that match here on Thursday?
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround, which I think sometimes is a good thing. We've had 2 really good days of training. There's a lot going on in the club right now. GA Cup starts next week for the academy, 17s and 15s. So some of the guys that have been with us are going to get opportunities to play significant minutes with those teams, and it's been a lot of organization, but it's an exciting time of the year.
Thank you for that. We'll go with Jorge. Jorge, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Coach. I just wanted to ask you, how do you prepare for a game like Thursday going against the reigning MLS Next Pro champions, although they've had a shaky start to the season?
Yeah, there's a cycle in Next Pro where there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of players that change in every team, and I think it's just treating it like we do every game, where we get as much information on the team as we can, and then we focus on what we can control, which is essentially the things that we can improve from the last 2 games, the things that have worked really well, and then obviously how we're going to manage those situations against the way that Austin wants to play. So I think yeah, they've had a shaky start, but look, it's like everything else. The results right now, the teams right now, they're trying to find their identity. It's a weird preseason for MLS teams that have a second team, and I think what we're seeing is that teams are still looking for that true identity.
And then I want to bring up David Garcia gets to showcase himself with the Venezuelan national team, makes his professional debut. Just want to hear some words over him.
Yeah, David did great over preseason. I think he's like a lot of our young guys. The level that they are right now, our job, especially with the second team, is to put them in situations and give them experiences that can showcase their talent, but also make sure that they're developing at the speed that is right for them. So like I said earlier, I think, having the GA Cup, having the under 17s have a really competitive schedule over the last month, him getting the opportunity with Venezuela, I think it's really important. But also, you have to manage each player, especially the young players, differently, and give them the amount of experience that they need at the right time. You definitely can hurt young players sometimes by potentially putting too much pressure or giving them too much of an experience when things are still building. But he's done fantastic, and had an excellent training session today.
Lastly, how can the team maintain the same rhythm throughout the games?
Well, I think the third goal is against LAFC. We actually were talking about it today. That I could give you 1,000 opportunities to recreate that, and I don't think we'd even get close to one. It's an interesting piece to a young team, because I think anyone that's really watched both of our games, we should have scored multiple goals in each game. I would argue maybe 3 goals in each game. We're creating the opportunities. We're not finishing opportunities. But at the same time, I think one of the biggest pieces of growth when you have a group that's new and, you're finding out your leaders and you've got guys, you've got a couple guys that have been around it. It's how you manage the moments in the game, and understanding that when we have a good spell, and if you look at the first 20 minutes of the second half of our first game, and if you look at the last 15 minutes of the first half against LA, we were on top of the game, and it showed because of the chances that we created, the goals that we scored. I think we have to also be comfortable in knowing that that same momentum is going to shift, and it will be in favor of the team we're playing. So we need to be more comfortable with the fact that, okay, this is an opportunity for us to manage that momentum, to counter it, and to build it back for us. That's so much easier said than done. And it's something that we have talked to the guys about a lot over the last 2 weeks. I have to say that there's so much good feedback from the players on how they as individuals and as a group can not only recognize those moments, but manage those moments. It's been really exciting that it's not just the coaching staff saying, we need to do this, we need to do that. There's feedback from the players. But it's something that's a process as well. And it's going to be interesting tomorrow because it's going to happen. We're going to have opportunities where we're on the front foot and everything looks great. And then that momentum switches. How are we going to manage and recognize that moment has happened and build ourselves back into it? So it's a process. It's a process with all young teams.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Manny, go ahead.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey.
Just hopping on that with a much younger team. We know with the last two games were losses. Have you expected some more growing pains with a much younger team this season?
It's all perspective, to be honest. I don't consider it growing pains. I look at it more as, the mistakes that we've made, you usually don't have those so compact in multiple games. But I also think that you can look at individuals and say, oh, this young guy or this young guy or this young guy or this unexperienced guy. But there's ways that the team can counteract some of those. And I think if you look back to the first goal that we conceded in LA, okay, it happens. But that situation happens at the first team level all the time. And it's about how guys recover for each other in those moments. And so we're not just identifying one situation. We're looking at it holistically. And if you go back to the penalty that wasn't a penalty, it hits him straight in the chest. But where that comes from a mental error. Okay, well, there's ways that we can counteract that before it gets to that point. And then you go back to the third goal, which again, you can look at the final product of the third goal in LA and go, what just happened? But you can look at the fact that we didn't organize the throw in the way that we've trained it and the way that we've done it for the last two games. So that was error number one as a team. Then there's opportunities for us to kill that play off, but we just made it was a domino effect of a little bit being late. So that's what we're focusing on as a staff. It's not the actual end product. It's the fact that there are layers to it that we can improve as a team. And part of that is just the awareness that these situations are happening. But yeah, the perspective is that we played really well for the majority of the last two games. And I think that it's an evolution of this group.
Thanks, Kenny, and good luck on tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, Joey, go ahead.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey.
Do you think with this being the two Texas teams and both teams looking for their first win of the season, do you think that adds some extra layers of intensity to this game?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think anytime that you drop points, and I think the intensity needs to ramp up. We're at home, so I've made it very clear to the guys, and part of the whole process is kind of getting them to understand what these games mean. Yeah, playing Austin is always big. Playing Dallas is always big. But the great thing about this is we get an opportunity to play so quickly after. I know that for most people that sounds, oh, you like to have time to train, you like to do that. For a lot of these players, it's great that we get to just step back out on the field and compete again. And I'll tell you, I'm really excited about what this group has been doing. I know we live in a world where sometimes people that don't watch, you're judged on a tweet that shows a score. But what we have done over preseason as a group, what we have done over the first two games as a group is really exciting. And like everything else, sometimes the chips fall your way and sometimes they don't. And sometimes the mistakes go for you and sometimes the mistakes goes against you. But yeah, the intensity tomorrow should be absolutely fantastic.
And what are your thoughts on Diego Gonzalez's start to the season? And what expectations do you have for him going forward with the new contract and then being the most senior player within this roster?
I think Diego is in a very interesting spot because I don't have to tell Diego my expectations. He knows. I've been around him well, for his entire adult life, if you talk from when he turned 18, but I've been around him for so long, I think he understands the expectations that I have for him. For me, it's about helping him by being a mentor, get through what he's expecting of himself. I don't think Diego has performed the way Diego would like to. That's something that we have to manage. That's something where, in the past, maybe I'm the driver of intensity and expectations, and he's at a point now where I'm making sure that he understands the way the flow of these seasons goes. It's 2 games. It's 2 games out of 28. I think it's going to be a very interesting season for him, but I have to give him a ton of credit because all he's done after the last 2 games is trained harder the next day, trained harder the next week. He's not happy with the way he performs. And for me to say that I've ever been, at the end of a game, exceptionally happy of him, even on his best games, I always have a standard that's a little bit further than he can ever reach. But I think that's our job. Our job is to push these guys to the point that they can't see. So, I think he's in a great mindset right now. I think the team has all the faith in the world for Diego. And I said this about Exxon in preseason. I think we just wait and see and what we're doing off the field, what we're doing on the field for him. I think he's going to show his evolution from last year.
Thank you so much, Kenny. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Ramon, go ahead.
Hey, Kenny, you brought up Exxon just now. Wanted to ask you, is he solely play on the right wing or can he play inverted on the left?
Sorry, I missed the first of that. Was that Exxon?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he can play either. I think a player like Exxon is a rhythm player for me. He's a guy that I think when he feels it, right? And in preseason, he played on the left when we were in Mexico with the first team. He played on the left, he's played on the left during preseason with us, with the first team. We put him back on the right just due to also other structural pieces that we have in the team. But what he's done on the right, it's been excellent. I cannot. I wish I had a video package of what he looked like when he got here because, when he got here, there was a lot of nerves. He sees this as his opportunity to progress his career, to progress his life. And that was weighing on him really, really heavily. And our goal right away was to just calm his nerves a little bit, just to calm him down and have him play the way that we know he can play. And he's shown that over 2 games. He's one of the most dynamic players that I've ever worked with. And we're starting to now see the quality that he has on the ball. Speed is such a factor in this game, but now when you add in his quality on the ball, it's something that I think is such a great point of emphasis for him to focus on. And we're just trying to grow him and help him grow every day.
That's awesome. And wanted to ask you about Nico Hansen's performance. He was forced to step up due to Valdez's call-up in his national team.
He was exceptional. A couple things that stood out to me is there's something about players that have had to grind to get to where they are, right? And there's something about guys that the road to where they are right now has been really difficult. And Nico has some very interesting past experiences that haven't always gone his way. And he's had to really put his head down and grind. I thought his leadership within the group was fantastic. It doesn't do it service maybe on the TV, but just to hear the way he communicated to the players, the trust that the guys had in him for him playing his first game, and then his game management was very, very good. I'm really excited. I think he and Xavier have an unbelievable partnership this year to push each other because they both have exceptional quality in different areas. So it's exciting for us because the decision is never going to be easy. And that's what you want. You want people who, are pushing each other every day to play. And it's really exciting to have him in. And I think he was probably one of the most vocal players at the end of the game on how we can continue to improve, which says a lot about his character.
Correct. And lastly, I wanted to ask you about Stephen Anor's goal, and more importantly, the way he obtained it by pressing, and how that can be teaching tape for the team and to believe in your philosophy.
Yeah, look, Steven needed that goal. I mean, to me, and I think anybody that's watched the first two games, Steven could have multiple goals right now. And there's a reason why at the highest level, that position makes a lot of money, because it's a hard part of the game, if not one of the hardest. I think for him to score, and you could just see the excitement, because no matter how the goal comes, he's created it. To get that first goal gives him a lot of momentum. Now, like all young players, again, you have to balance, especially in a short week. A lot of these guys coming from college, it's not easy going from a 3-month season to now you've got a 10-month season, and now you're playing these games thick and fast. So we've got to also manage what Steven's doing, and because he and Exxon are full go as long as they can, and then the wheels fall off, right? So part of our job is making them robust enough off the field to get to 90 minutes of that. As a young player, sometimes that's hard to understand. So I think part of Steven's big growth is obviously getting him in to improve in the things that we want him to improve in, but also we've got to get him stronger so that he can create those moments for 90 minutes. But I was really excited for him. Told him a little bit disappointed in the celebration. It could have been a little bit more springy, and he just started laughing again. Obviously, I'm messing with him, but I think it's important that he gets off the board, and he gets that feeling of what it feels like to score the first goal.
Fantastic. Best of luck tomorrow, Kenny. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll wrap up with that one. Thanks for joining us. We'll have video and additional items available later today.